Where companies should start when they're thinking about how to tackle their global payroll challenges is probably first of all to start with the end state. So if you start with what you want it to look like at the end of the process and then work forwards, you ensure that you've captured everything along the way. So a lot of companies will have a business strategy in terms of what they want to look like 3-5 years out from now. They'll have a good understanding of what their challenges are, or at least they should have a good understanding of what those challenges are today. Now, you've got to formulate what your target operating model for payroll might want to look like and how you're actually going to make that happen. And what companies have a tendency sometimes to do is say, we want to buy global payroll, so we're going to go and ask the market and start to get proposals from people and stuff like that, but often haven't really thought about what the end state needs to look like. So you going down a shared services route, are you looking to ensure that local country specialists have still got access to information and data and that type of thing? So what we would encourage is people to look at what it is that they want to achieve, first of all, commercially, and then define how you're actually going to get to that point. And that might be that you need to look at other systems that you're going to be changing, etc., etc. Then it would be sensible to look at what is available in the market. So sometimes people may go and look for a solution because they've defined what they want it to be, but they don't actually have a good understanding of whether you can actually buy that in the open market. So to start to investigate what is available, then bring that back to your strategy and say, okay, can we buy the tools or the systems or whatever that we want to embed into that overall plan? And then you can start to get more focused on, okay, we now know exactly what we want. Maybe get some validation of that with some external consultants. You know, historically, the expertise of global payroll consulting firms who are able to say, okay, here's how we take you on a journey from A to B, hasn't really been there. But that's obviously expanded quite a lot over the last few years as global payroll starts to become more of a majority factor rather than an early adopter type approach to it. So get some external help to really validate your own thinking on it, make sure that what you're looking at is right from a best practice perspective, and then you can start to get into exactly what your RFP type processes look like, and that will often be dictated by the company's own approach to how you normally procure these types of services. But you know, it can be overwhelming at first when you look at this and say, okay, we've got all these different systems we've got to think about, we've got to connect them together, we've got to potentially reduce cost, or we want to enhance the value of data. So having an understanding of what you actually want to achieve is really important, and then bring that back. Some other areas that are quite important to consider is the local stakeholders. So companies will have a corporate vision perhaps of what they want to do as an organisation for payroll, but may not have looked at actually what are the local requirements we need to consider. So that's something, again, getting the local stakeholder buy-in, looking at what different countries' problem points might be or pain points, and how those are going to be solved through a process, and then how that ties back to what the corporate objectives are. These are all things that really need to be looked at up front, because otherwise companies can start to move into maybe a transitional phase and find that they haven't necessarily considered what the local people want, or as other examples where the local stakeholders haven't been bought into the process and they may not be fully comfortable with what the corporate entity is looking to do. So it's kind of a case of define the end state, look at what is required locally, look at what is available in the market, and then get specific on actually going and buying that. I would encourage that type of activity before just going to an RFP type process, which is something that people are very good at doing, but doesn't necessarily yield the right results and can take a lot more time from a buying cycle than it might actually need to.